Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing something slightly different. I'm actually doing a Disneyland Paris hints and tips video. There's lots of these out there for Walt Disney World. I'll probably end up making my own Walt Disney World one at some point, but I feel like Disneyland Paris is quite often overlooked, and it's actually just as overwhelming if you've never been to Disney before and you really don't know where to start, and especially when you add in the language barrier if you're not from France. Disneyland Paris can definitely be just as kind of daunting, so I thought I'd put together a little video with my hints and tips. I'm going in December for what will be my 9th trip to Disneyland Paris, and as such I basically consider myself a tiny bit of a Disneyland Paris expert now. So yeah, I thought I would sit down and give you all my hints and tips. I'm also going to do a video that's my top 10 things to do in Disneyland Paris, so that will be up quite soon as well. The other thing that I'm going to do is vlog my trip when I go in December, so that video obviously won't be up until December, but if you're going before then, I would really urge you to watch as many vlogs of people's trips as possible. See the amount of information you can pick up just from watching people kind of walking about, just things that they're not even realising they're telling you, like information that you can get, even like simple things like we're on this ride, so the closest place to that ride for lunch is this place. Really simple bits of information that you don't even realise you're retaining, so vlogs are definitely the way forward. I also write up trip reports on the dib.co.uk. I say I do as though I'm the only one that does it. Lots and lots of people do, and there's lots of Disneyland Paris trip reports up there as well. Again, I would read as many trip reports as you can. Watch vlogs, read trip reports, and honestly the amount of information that you'll pick up is insane. They're definitely worth spending an afternoon reading and watching. But yeah, please do watch my Disneyland Paris vlog when it's up, but it won't be up until I've actually been in December, so I hope you enjoy that one when it does come up. But anyway, for now, let's get into my hints and tips. The logical place to start seems to be around booking an accommodation. First things first, the cheapest place that I've found to book every single time has been through Disney directly. They include your park entry when you book with them, so if you book 3 nights in a hotel at Disney through them, you have 4 days park entry included. If you book 3 nights in a hotel at Disney through a travel agent, then they charge you the same price Disney do, but that doesn't include your park entry. You then need to pay for park entry tickets on top of that. Disney website's really simple to navigate. It's just disneylandparis.com. You just put in your dates, select your hotel, and it brings you up the prices. It's actually quite useful because it will suggest one that's slightly more expensive and slightly less expensive to get you an idea of what the difference in price between the different resorts are. I've stayed in all the resorts now except the Cheyenne, and they're all lovely. Well, I haven't stayed at the Davy Crockett's Ranch. That Davy Crockett's Ranch is a Disney resort, but you need to have a car. They don't run transport from there, so if you're going to stay there, although it is a Disney like owned property, you need to be able to transport yourself from there to the parks every day. So although it's the cheapest one, I've never stayed at it, and I really can't comment on it. I'm sure lots of people stayed and lots of people have loved it, but you'd need to be quite happy to drive every day to get to the parks. For some people obviously driving on holiday is not an issue, but it's not something I would personally want to do. Having stayed from the Santa Fe right up to the Disneyland Hotel, they're all beautiful. Certainly the Santa Fe could do with a bit of a overhaul. I think they have started that, but I think it's just a kind of tired looking hotel. But to be honest, it's on Disney property. Your room's Disney themed. The Santa Fe rooms are Cars and Toy Story themed, and I think the rest of them don't really have Disney themes in the way that the Santa Fe does in terms of what's actually in your room, but they're all themed. There's characters at every Disney hotel, and all the Disney hotels get transport. Each day you can get the bus, the shuttle bus that comes and gets you to the parks, or you can walk. All the Disney hotels, with the exception of the Davy Crockett's Ranch, are within walking distance to the park. The Santa Fe is the furthest away, and as I said, I've stayed there and we walked it pretty much every day of our holiday. It's actually a really pleasant walk, so I actually really recommend walking rather than taking the shuttle bus, but it's up to you of course. Anyway, that is if you're staying at Disney. I really recommend staying on property. I've stayed on site every single holiday that I've been. I've only stayed off site one night, and it was because the way our flights ended up, we booked a holiday and not booked our flights, and then when we booked the flights we had to add on an extra night, but it was really pointless paying the Disney price, so we stayed in the Ibis Hotel for one night. Now that is just one RER stop down from the main Disneyland stop, and it was really simple to do. If you are looking at staying off site, The Ibis Hotel is really cheap, really affordable, and really simple to get. It's literally the station that is the one before Disneyland. Just get off and you can see the hotel straight away. I think there's 3 hotels around there, but the Ibis is the only one I personally stayed at, so it's the only one I can personally recommend. But it's literally, you see it from the station, you walk there, you walk back and just get the train one stop to Disneyland Paris. It's really simple to do, and I think we paid €60 to stay there for one night, so it is a lot cheaper than staying at the Disney hotels. However, I really cannot urge you enough, please stay at a Disney hotel. Like, you're just cocooned in the magic. All the hotels are themed, the staff are all lovely, like there's characters in the morning at every hotel. It just really, I think, cocoons you in the magic and really like emphasises that you're on a Disney holiday. However, if you do stay off site, then the Ibis is the one that I would recommend. Really cheap, really clean. On a Disney holiday, you're really only sleeping in your hotel, so you don't, if you're going to stay off site, you really don't need to be staying in a really expensive hotel. But what I would say is that the cost of park entry tickets can actually be incredibly expensive. If you're going for more than 2 or 3 days, I would really urge you to consider an annual pass if you're not going to be staying on site at Disney. I think the cost of the annual pass is about €200, and obviously even if you're only going for like 4 nights or 5 days or whatever, and you're not planning to come back within that year, it might seem a bit silly to have an annual pass just for using for 5 days. It can actually work out a lot cheaper than buying individual park entry day tickets. The other thing to consider with the annual pass is that you actually get discounts in the shops and the restaurants, so again, offset that as well when you're thinking about the cost of the annual pass, is that you'll also get savings that you wouldn't get otherwise. If you think that staying at a Disney hotel might be a little bit too much, there's also what's called Disney partner hotels. I've stayed in one of them, which is the Vienna International Dream Castle, and that was a beautiful hotel. All of those hotels are really up to Disney standards. Disney doesn't put their name to anything that is not good, basically. So even the Disney partner hotels have been approved by Disney and they're a pretty high standard. The Vienna Dream Castle was just beautiful, it was lovely. And again, with the partner hotels, you get your transport included, so you get the shuttle that runs from the hotel to the park every day, every 10 minutes or so. Really simple to use, but you cannot walk from the partner hotels, you have to take the shuttles. Also, in terms of accommodation, if you go through a travel agent, I would get a quote from a travel agent and then check it on the Disneyland Paris website and see what you're talking about. Each time we found it cheapest to book the holiday itself, the accommodation through Disney, and book the flights separately. But obviously with the travel agent you might get a cheaper package deal, but I would honestly get their quote and then check it against the Disney one. The other thing to think with a travel agent, there are 5 Disney hotels. I have heard horror stories of travel agents telling families there is only the Disneyland Hotel and that is it. Now, the Disneyland Hotel is a beautiful hotel, and if you have enough money that you want to stay there, do it. It's a beautiful hotel, you're right over the park entrance. There are some of the bedrooms that you can see the castle from your bedroom, so you know, definitely worth staying at if you can afford to. However, it's the most expensive hotel on Disney for a reason, and I've heard of travel agents telling people that that's the only hotel and they just have to pay that price and that's it, when you can actually get a much cheaper deal going to one of the other Disney hotels. So please don't let travel agents pull you into staying at the Disneyland Hotel. It's not the only Disney hotel. Also while we're talking about accommodation, you can get the RER straight from Charles de Gaulle to Disneyland. Really simple to do. Just look on the map, get the Paris Visité 5-zone card at Charles de Gaulle station. They are very geared up for tourists. As long as you make a little bit of an effort to speak some French, they do tend to respond quite well. But there is that language barrier, so when I go with my family, we just tend to book a holiday taxi transfer from the airport to the hotel. But when Scott and I went, we just took the train. It was actually very simple to do. You just need to look up your stations in advance, know which line you're getting, and honestly it's really simple. And it's just the Paris Visité zones 1 to 5 that you need to get there. Next tip is food at Disneyland Paris. All the Disney hotels include breakfast in your stay if you're staying there. If you want a hot breakfast in the morning, you need to be staying at either the New York or the Disneyland Hotel. The rest are all continental breakfast, and to be honest that suited me fine the times that we've been staying there. So yeah, really, but get your breakfast in the morning. Disneyland Paris is actually much more expensive than Walt Disney World in terms of the cost of things. They've basically taken what the cost of things are in dollars at Walt Disney World and put a euro sign in front of it in Paris, and the exchange rate for British people at least is really not very good. It's pretty much 1 for 1, whereas with dollars it's like 1 for 1.5, so if you've got £10 that would get you $15, but it'll pretty much only get you like 10, maybe 11 euros at a push. So something that is $15 in Walt Disney World is £10, whereas if it's 15 euros at Disneyland Paris it's £15. I know that's quite a small difference, but it does add up obviously over the course of a holiday, especially if you're taking a family and you've got, you know, 4 people to pay for each lunchtime. Lunches tend to come in somewhere between 10 and 15 euros if you go for the set meals. However, do check out the snack menus. You can get the croque monsieur, which is big enough that it's a lunch on its own. You don't need to go for one of the menus that is like you get a burger and chips and a drink and a dessert. You don't actually need that much food. The portion sizes are fairly generous. Also with popcorn, if you get a souvenir bucket of popcorn you can get a refill for I think €6. So there are ways to eat more cheaply when you're there, but I would say have your breakfast in the morning if it's included your hotel stay if you're staying at Disney. The other thing to consider is that there's actually a supermarket 1 stop down the RER from Disney, and you can take food and drink into the Disneyland park. Lots of people don't seem to know that, but it's not against the rules. You can, if you're taking a family of 4 and you're talking about maybe paying €60 to have what is essentially a McDonald's meal for 4, then you can take in sandwiches and stuff and find a nice spot to sit. Nobody chucks you off where you're sitting. If you're sitting somewhere outside like at Casey's Corner, which is at the corner of Main Street, there's loads of seating outside there and you could sit there with your own food. Nobody's going to come and throw you. I've never seen anyone getting like told to go away. People sit there just for a rest, so you can definitely sit there with your own food and have that, which is a great way to save money if you're going as a family. Personally, I always eat on site, but I'm an only child, so it's only ever me and my parents or myself and my boyfriend. We've never had a case of where there's been like 5 of us to provide for, so I do understand that it's a very expensive place if you do have a big family, so definitely consider taking food from outside. There are fountains all around the park and the water from them is suitable to drink, so if you take in a bottle of water in the morning, feel free to refill it as you go around the park. That's free, unlimited and suitable to drink obviously. The other thing to consider as well in terms of drinks, quite often when you buy something in one of the shops, there will be an offer on the bottom for a free hot chocolate or a free coffee or tea. Do keep your receipts. Look out for these offers, and when you get them, keep them. I'm really bad at not using them, but like the amount of money, especially if you are going with a family, that even if your children don't want hot drinks, like even to get 2 coffees or whatever for free and then only be paying for 2 other drinks as a kind of mid-morning stop, definitely will cut down your price again. Apparently the hot chocolate's really nice. I've never actually had it, so it's on my list for this time to make sure I stop for a hot chocolate, preferably a free one from a receipt. In terms of your meals, there are beautiful restaurants in the parks. My favourite in-park restaurant for a proper sit-down meal is probably Blue Lagoon. I've just had the most amazing meal there in the past, and we go every single time. However, if you're going off peak, the park shut earlier. The park shut at about 6 or 7 o'clock, sort of depending on the time of year that you're there, and that means that you have to have a meal at night. So if you're going off peak, stick to a sandwich or something at lunchtime. Don't have a big meal, because at night when the parks are shut, you've only got the Disney Village to amuse yourself with. Now it is really nice. There are lots of shops, and there's World of Disney, which is angels are harmonising when you think of World of Disney. It's just amazing. But it means that at night, probably if the parks are shutting for about 7 o'clock, and then you're going to be wandering around at night until whatever time. I mean, obviously for us we end up staying out till probably like 11ish, so when you're spending 4 hours continually in the Disney Village, like say for a 4-night holiday, it does get a little bit repetitive, so having an evening meal is a good way to actually use your time at night, rather than wandering around the same shops over and over and over again. I really like Cafe Mickey's. I go there absolutely every holiday. That is a character meal, and that's another thing I would say about food is Disneyland Paris doesn't have as many characters as Walt Disney World, so if you go to a character meal you're kind of guaranteed quite a few characters, quite a few pictures, whereas like they're not dotted about the parks anything like as frequently as Walt Disney World. The character meals are also really organised. They're going to come round in an organised fashion. They will come to your table and they will be with the people at your table for that time. In the parks, just in Paris, in France in general, in Europe I think, to be honest, not even so much just France, they don't really queue. In Walt Disney World, where every character is, there is a queue, you join the queue, there is a cast member who is, that is what people who work at Disney are called, in case you really like don't know anything about Disney. All the people who are called there, who are employed there, are called cast members. So there will be, in Walt Disney World, there is always a cast member with every character, and they keep the queue organised and everybody goes up one at a time. That does not happen in Disneyland Paris. I will get onto that with characters, but if you cannot be bothered fighting your way to the front to push your child in for a picture, just do a character meal, because the character meet and greets at Disneyland Paris are just, as a general rule, highly unorganised and just not really enjoyable, to be honest, when you're having to fight somebody to see a character. But anyway, that's for under the character section. We're talking food here. So character meals are a great way to get your characters in. So I really like Cafe Mickey's. Also there is the steak place, which has always been really nice. We've only had one kind of unfortunate experience there, and every other time we've been there it's been really nice, so I would recommend it. But Annette's is a great one to go for if you are with a family and you're on a budget. I think they do a set menu. The last time that Scott and I were there we had it, and I think it was €17, and that got you a burger and a main course, a dessert and a drink. Portions are absolutely massive at Annette's, so we actually had to take our brownies away with us because we could not finish them in Annette's. There's no reservations at Annette's, so you just have to join the queue, but it tends to move really quickly, and yeah, it's really good food, so that's a really good one if you are on a budget. There's also McDonald's. The other thing down at Disney Village is they have Earl of Sandwich. The Earl of Sandwich compressed sandwich is my favourite sandwich in the entire world. How many times did I say sandwich there? Anyway, it's my favourite sandwich in the entire world. I walked by Earl of Sandwich so many times. I was just like, oh, it's only a sandwich place, it can't be that special. They're so good. It kind of defeats my point of what I was saying about get a proper sit down meal at night because you've got more time to waste at night. But if you have the time, go to Earl of Sandwich. Even do it like if you go to one park in the morning and then come out, nip into Disney Village, grab an Earl of Sandwich for lunch and go into the other park. Oh, the sandwiches are to die for. Right, let's talk characters here. So, as I said, there's no queues when you're doing character meet and greets. They are not organised. The last time Scott and I were there, there was a woman who hit Donald Duck to get his attention, to make him look at her child. Like, there's no queuing system. People go crazy when they're trying to get their child in to see a character, and it's really awkward, see, especially if you're there. Like when Scott and I went to Disney World, there's so many couples our age that were like there to meet characters and everything. In Disneyland Paris, like there's not as many like young people just there on their own. There are groups of them, you're not going to stand out like a sore thumb if you're like two young people there together without children. There are plenty of people there without children, but in terms of meeting characters, not as many people seem to do it at Disneyland Paris, and I think it's probably because people really can't be bothered fighting to get to the front, and it also feels really awful if you're fighting with children to get to the front. But the parents of these children are like, they're on another planet. Like I don't wish to generalise the French in this video because I'm sure it's not the French as a nation, and I'm sure there are lots of individually well-mannered, lovely French people, but at Disneyland Paris it's like everyone's manners go out the window. They just care about getting their child into that character photo, and as I said, we had a woman who actually slapped Donald Duck, which was insane. Like, you've never seen anything like this in your life. If the character you want to meet isn't at a character meal, which is definitely how I'd say to meet characters at DLP, get an autograph book. Use the autograph book to fight your way forward, because see, if you're just standing there watching all these children, I think they'll presume that you're something to do with one of the children there. If you have an autograph book, you can hold it out and they will realise that you're actually there. Like, as an adult and you just want their autograph in a picture, and they will actually pay you some attention. So autograph book is definitely, if you want to meet characters, get an autograph book. It's your armour, do it. The one character meet and greet at Disneyland Paris that we really enjoyed was actually Mickey at the Times Square Theatre. That was really well organised. There was a queue. It was really nice as well because when you were in the queuing area they were playing some of the old Disney shorts, so you don't feel like you're waiting for absolutely ages just like talking to each other. You can actually watch like all the kind of Disney cartoons and stuff, which is really, really nice. And that one's well organised, but the rest of them are a bit of a free-for-all. Just remember there are no PhotoPass photographers at TLP, which again at Walt Disney World there's PhotoPass photographers. You buy a PhotoPass, they scan it, and then they take your picture and you end up with all your pictures at the end of the holiday. At Disneyland Paris there's not a cast member, quite often there's not a cast member, and there's definitely nobody there taking pictures. You have to be responsible for your own pictures, so you have to have a camera, you have to be prepared for one of you to stand out and take the picture with the other person in it. If you're lucky there will be a kind person in the queue who will take a picture of all of your party with the character, but just don't bet on it. I don't know why they haven't introduced PhotoPass or some like an equivalent at Disneyland Paris, but yeah, it's not there, so just be prepared with your own camera and like make sure somebody like take the picture and then swap so that everybody gets their picture basically. If you are wanting pictures, if there's only two of you and you want pictures together, if you're staying on site you get extra magic hours. I should have probably said that under accommodation, but oh well. Extra magic hours are when you're staying at a Disney hotel, you get to go into the park earlier or leave the park later, one or the other. On our last visit Scott and I had early morning extra magic hours, so we went in early and we actually used the bins at a great height for setting your camera on a self timer to get a good photo. So if one of you like stands where you're going to stand, the other one sets the thing up, puts it on self timer, focuses it on the other person and then runs in. Complicated system, but they work, and the bins at a great height for like getting, especially around the castle area, we get quite a few pictures that had both of us and the castle in them, and that was all just like a camera on self timer on top of one of the bins. So they're a great height. That is my pro tip if you want pictures together, if there's only two of you. Obviously it wouldn't work during normal hours because it'd be too busy, but extra magic hours, get in early, you're sorted. Other general tips: enjoy Disneyland Paris. Slow down, there's not as much in it, you don't need to rush around. The only thing you really need to pass ironically is Peter Pan's flight, and then like Hollywood Tower of Terror and possibly Rock and Roller Coaster, but it depends on the time of year that you're there. They're the only ones I've ever had to fast pass. Even Space Mountain, you really don't need a fast pass for it in DLP. It's never busy enough. You don't get the queues like you do in Florida. It's just, it's not on the same level at all. So it's smaller, it's quieter, there's less to do. But that is the beauty of it. Really, you can afford to slow down and take your time. Really appreciate the detail. When you go to Florida, do it as well, but to be honest, if you want to go to a theme park just for rides, save your money and go to Alton Towers. If you want to go to, if you pay to go to Disney, you're paying for the theming and the characters and the music, and everything is just so beautiful. Like, nothing is overlooked. The tiniest details are so well thought out. Like, just take your time to look around you and really appreciate how pretty everything is. I know that sounds really obvious, but see, when you get into the headspace of I'm ticking off this ride, this ride, this ride and this ride, like, don't get focused on that, because you don't need to do that at Disneyland Paris. You don't need to rush around. You can really take your time to actually appreciate where you are. In terms of the parks, now there's two parks at Disneyland Paris. There's the Disneyland Park and there is the Studios Park. Disneyland Park is the one that everyone knows, which is the one with Main Street USA that has the castle at the end and all the shops up the side. In the Disneyland Park, once you go through the castle, you're in Fantasyland, and there are other lands. You can access all the lands from the hub, which is the area in front of the castle that's round. Go that way, you're going to Tomorrowland, straight through to Fantasyland, that way up to Frontierland, and that way to Adventureland. You will see what I mean if you look at a map of the park. Now that is the other thing, you can download these maps before you go. They're on the Disneyland Paris website to look at, but they're also at the entrance of the park. Grab a map and just be sensible. Refer to it, because it is very easy to get lost if you don't know where you're going. Once you know where you're going, Disneyland Paris is really easy to navigate, I promise. But if you've never been before, it obviously is difficult. Get a map. The map is your best friend. What I would say is look at the map before you go and look at what you want to do in each land, because this is my main thing that I say to everybody, is if you want to do Space Mountain, which is in Tomorrowland, and then you want to do Big Thunder Mountain, which is in Frontierland, and then you want to do It's a Small World, which is in Fantasyland, but you do Space Mountain, then go off to Big Thunder Mountain, then come back to It's a Small World, you're wasting your time. Like, look at all the attractions you want to do and look at what ones are near each other. Don't waste your time running from one side of the park to the other, to go back, to go forward, to go back. It's just illogical and silly. You're wasting your time, you're rushing around, not appreciating the beauty of where you are, like I've just gone on a rant about. And yeah, it's just a bit silly. Look at maps before you go. Familiarise yourself with it. I don't mean memorise the maps before you go, but get a kind of idea of what it is you want to do and where in the park those things are, and then make a plan. I like to do a proper itinerary for each day because I am a little bit OCD. However, you don't need to do that. Like I've said with Disneyland Paris, you can really slow down. You don't need to be like absolutely madly ticking off boxes, but if you wander around with no plan at all, there will be things you won't see. So look before you go and make a little checklist for each day. It doesn't have to be detailed, but just say, right, so today we're going to the Disneyland park, we're going to do Main Street USA, go to all the shops, we're going to take a look at the castle, go upstairs, go downstairs, and then we're going to go into Fantasyland and do the carousel, It's a Small World, and Peter Pan's Flight. Then we're going to go to Adventureland and do Pirates of the Caribbean and Indiana Jones. That might not even be in Adventureland, but whatever. Just do it roughly like that so that you can tick things off, so that you have a plan, so that you're achieving your goals, and plan it a little bit just so that you're doing things that are near each other and doing it in a logical fashion and not tiring yourself out, because you will be tired on a Disney holiday. A Disney holiday, you need another holiday when you come home from it, because you're on your feet, you do so much walking, like you're tired. At the end of every night you sleep like a log through to the next morning. It's not at all akin to a holiday where you lie on a beach. It is, you're on the go, and don't make extra walking for yourself because you will do enough, I promise. Right before you go, the show times should be put online on the Disneyland website. You can access them all on the Disneyland website, but they only run, I think, up to 2 weeks in advance. However, the DIB does have the Disneyland Paris park hours. The DIB is a website that I said people post trip reports on. You can get the Disneyland Paris park hours kind of ahead of time, looking at the DIB before Disneyland Paris website actually has them, and the DIB will also usually have, if not confirmed times of when all the shows are, they will have a very like well educated guess at when all the show times will be. So make sure you see the shows when you go, because again it goes back to the thing about if you want to just go to a theme park, go to Alton Towers, like you're there to see the parades and the characters and the fireworks, and like, oh, at Christmas they do an ice skating show which is absolutely amazing. There's usually a show in front of the castle, there's the parade at least once, there's at least one parade a day, then there's usually also the dance party parade, then the little Main Street USA train. There's like multiple things going on through the day. Check the times of them. Again, if you don't see that before you go, they will be when you get your map at the start of the park. You will get the show times for the day. That is the same for both parks, Disneyland Park and the Studios Park. Get the show times for the day, get a map, and just make a little rough plan. You don't need to be detailed, you don't need to be, you know, absolutely at 9 AM we are going here, at 9:10 we are going here, at 9:20 we are going to this place. You don't need to do it like that, but just have a rough checklist so that you don't like waste your holiday not actually achieving things. Now I think that's everything I was going to cover in this video. As I said, I'm going to do a top 10 things to do in Disneyland Paris that will give you probably, once I get that up, that will probably give you more of an idea of like the actual rides and things, like the specifics of what those rides are and whatnot. So I hope you enjoy that when it comes up. If you have any other questions though, please do leave them below. I'm sure there will be something that I've not covered. I'm sure there will still be questions to be answered, so leave them below if you want any help, or even just shoot me an email. It's just rosekeatsblog@hotmail.com, and I will get back to you. Yeah, I think most of all, the thing I'd like to hammer home is just enjoy where you are, enjoy your surroundings, take your time and appreciate how beautiful everything is. That is the main thing to do at Disneyland Paris, because like I keep saying, if you wanted to go to a theme park, you can go to Blackpool, you can go to Alton Towers. You're going to Disney for a reason, you're paying that price for a reason, and don't go and not appreciate it properly. That is my absolute #1 main thing that I say to everyone. Like, every holiday I could perch myself on a bench in Main Street and just watch everybody and just take in the music and the decorations and the lights. It's just incredible. Sorry, my camera ran out of battery just as I was ending the video there, but do come back and check out my top 10 things to do in Disneyland Paris video. That should be up in a couple of weeks time. My Disneyland Paris vlog should be up in December, I will get it up as soon as I can after I've come back. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, because that's what everyone says at the end of every YouTube video. But no, I seriously hope you did enjoy the video. But yeah, I will speak to you on my next one. Bye!